Hello, everyone, and welcome to Build Your Best Team this year. We're so glad that you are joining us today. My name is Emily Hegdahl. I'm with the PBA, and with me here is Kati Whitledge, founder of Maya. Maya is the proprietary matchmaking software serving hairstylists, barbers, estheticians, and has helped hundreds of professionals across the beauty industry grow their business through the first time experiences. Not only is Kati founder of Maya, but she is a salon owner, author, podcaster, and all around really just a wealth of knowledge. I'm so excited you guys are going to get to learn from her today. She's truly an amazing speaker. And with that, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. Kati, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to turn it on over to you.
Well, thank you, Emily. I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be with you today. I don't know where you're at, but it is -4 degrees here in Madison, Wisconsin. Would you do me a favor and put in the chat, where are you joining us from today? Okay, it would be great to be in Arizona right now. Texas, amazing, though Emily shared it's kind of cold there too. Chicago, similar weather here. Hello, Coral, Sarasota. That would be beautiful. I'll be in St. Petersburg at the end of the month. I'm looking forward to that. New York. So you get the chilliness here. San Francisco Bay, also cold. California, amazing. South Florida, North Carolina. It's a little cold here, 57. That would be a flip-flop day here in Wisconsin if it was 57. Mississippi, awesome. Well, as we dive into today's conversation, please feel free to put anything that comes to your mind in the chat, because at the very end, Emily's going to review the questions that you've had throughout our conversation and share with me those questions so that we can answer those for everybody. And yes, we're talking about building your best team this year. So, a few things about myself. I am an entrepreneur, investor, speaker, and podcaster. I founded Be Inspired Salon in 2010. We are opening our second location for this brand next month. Beyond the Technique, you may know this is an industry podcast for owners with teams that is powered by Maya. As Emily shared, Maya is a client recruitment software, and I know she shared some cool things about it, but what I'm most excited to share is we have provided millions of dollars in revenue for the owners that we work with. And we've paired thousands upon thousands of clients with beauty professionals that are part of our brand's teams. Super proud of this company and all of the amazing ways that we're really helping build success for our industry and sustainability for our brands. I didn't intend to open a nail salon, but an opportunity came across my table and I took it. So between Pure Nails and Be Inspired Salon, I am a multi-salon owner, a multi-location owner. And that kind of brings me to our conversation today, because in 2023, we added and retained 18 new team members between just 2 locations at the time. And so I'm really proud of what we do to recruit beauty industry professionals. So let's get started. I'm going to share a couple quotes today, but one of my quotes that I think about often is, am I willing to do what others cannot or will not do? I think if we are willing to do what our competitors are unwilling or cannot do, we have the edge. And as we all know, if we're growing our team, there are other options out there. We aren't just competing with maybe 2 other great brands near us. We are competing with multiple brands now, including places like Ulta and even the booth rental model. I spoke with one of the top tier booth rental models who shared that now the average age of a stylist in the beauty professional in the industry coming to them has just 3 years experience. And more I'm hearing that people are choosing booth rental almost immediately. And so we are in a space where we need to be very competitive and very on top of things. Recruiting isn't something we do here and there. It's something that we do all the time. So when we're thinking about our marketing pillars of getting and keeping clients, we need to be focused on getting and keeping team members as well. So we're going to go over the who, what, where, why, and how today. So let's start with the who. So who are you first and foremost? What are your company values? What are your standards and expectations? If you don't have this clearly in front of you, then you don't really know who is the right fit. Who am I targeting? So when you think about targeting, you think about, oh, I'm building clientele. Here's our target market for our kind of clientele for our brand. I want you to think about growing your team and creating that avatar or that ideal team member profile as well. So you get really crystal clear on who it is that you are looking for. Once you know who you're looking for, then what are the positions that you're looking for? As part of large salon brand or spa, med spa, barbershop, you have people that play multiple roles. You may have a district manager, a general manager, a salon coordinator, guest services, hairstylist, esthetician. I mean, the list goes on. So the reason I put this here is I think sometimes our posts or how we go about finding people are a little general, and we want to get very, very specific on what are the positions we're looking to hire, and does that position have a mission statement? You think about your company having a mission statement. Do each of your company positions have their own mission statement for that position? And have you clearly spelled out the role and responsibilities for each of those positions and their KPIs? Even if you've never heard of this term KPI, it stands for key performance indicators. That could also be known as benchmarks. So to translate this, if you say, hey, as a hairstylist here, we expect that your retention for new clients is going to be 60% when you first start, meaning 6 out of 10 clients that we provide for you are going to come back, rebook, and see you again. That's an example of a KPI for a hairstylist. But have you put KPIs in place for all of your positions? We recently did our annual reviews. So over 30 team members, we sat down with one-on-ones prior to sitting down to kind of take a look at how their 2023 year was at a glance. We sent out an annual survey, and this is really an opportunity for them to evaluate leadership, company, team members, and themselves. And part of what we wanted to find out is, do they clearly understand everyone's role and responsibility within the salon? And funny enough, people, nobody gave us terrible ratings, but there's some times where people are a little confused. Well, do I go to this manager for this and this manager for that? Or do you ever have leadership in place where sometimes they go to mom, and if they don't hear what they want, they go to dad, So getting really, really clear on everybody's unique position, their roles and responsibilities, and what kind of outcomes that you expect. So just giving you a little example of this, it may be a little hard to read, but I'll share this with you. This is an example of a district manager role and responsibility. The mission statement is very short and very clear. It's to drive results in recruiting, revenue, and team guest retention. Then we break down the responsibilities: leadership, planning, staffing, maintenance, and marketing, and of course, results. And then we define what results means within leadership, financial, staffing, and execution. If you want, take a little screenshot of this slide, and this can be a very easy framework for just spelling it out for your company. Then we look at the KPIs. So if we look at, okay, what do we expect from our district manager who oversees multiple locations? They may not be the ones in the day-to-day grind working to grow revenue, but ultimately they are responsible for driving leadership within each location to get your revenue expectations where you want them to be. each business may be in a different stage of life. You may have a more seasoned company where your revenue goals are higher every single week, and you may have startup companies where you're looking to have a $600,000 a year or a $750,000 a year business until you hit that 1 million mark. So these are examples of areas that we want to see those KPIs grow. Reviews. Does your district manager actually need to curate reviews? No, but they need to oversee and make sure that that's happening. So who's involved in that process? With our brands, everybody's involved. And I won't get into that. That's a whole different conversation today. But everybody plays their part, and our district manager basically makes sure that everybody's playing their part. You have productivity and a little fun box called Cut Stupid Spending, giving empowering responsibilities to your leaders to help them help you grow your profit margin. So that's an example of, just to backtrack, what positions are you looking to fill, and really getting crystal clear on the roles and responsibilities. Do I put all of this in a job listing? No, I don't put all of that in there. I may not spell all this out in a job listing. That might be overwhelming, because if you think about a job listing, you are marketing. You want to make it so juicy, have it be, the right amount of information to get the right person to apply or submit their resume. But if you go over the top, then it may just be paralysis by analysis for somebody. So I would more so summarize these categories, but you don't need to show them in your hiring job postings the exact KPIs that you're looking for. This just is an example, so you're very clear on, does this person fit within these expectations that we have? Then you're thinking about where do you find your ideal team members? Things haven't changed in the last couple of years of where the top 3 places are. Number 1 is Indeed. And we have found that more and more beauty professionals are utilizing Indeed, both to find new career paths and, engaging within that space to look for brands that are hiring for the beauty industry. So a great place to be. Recently, though, Indeed has changed their financial model, where you are no longer allowed to pay per candidate. It used to be, I literally think today is the last day, that you could, you not pay unless you moved forward with an applicant. And then you pay maybe $99 for one applicant, but you could reject any applicants that came through that weren't a good fit, which, we had like over a 90% rejection rate, meaning 1 out of 10 people or 1 out of 100. I don't know. It's very slim. Like, if we're looking for somebody, you got to be a great fit, or we're kind of moving on, so that we aren't investing in somebody who clearly is not in alignment with what we're looking for. But now Indeed is going to be a pay to play. If you want to play on their platform, they are going to make you pay for that. So a little kind of pro tip or side note I would recommend is go into your financial records and take a look at, what did you spend on Indeed or other hiring platforms in 2023? And that will tell you, okay, we spent $5,000. Okay, what does that look like per day? Because now when you go into Indeed, you are going to have to pay per day. It doesn't mean you're going to be charged today if there's not applications being put in front of people or coming through, but you have to be willing to pay a certain amount per day. I'm willing to pay up to $20 per day, $50 per day. I mean, it really can add up. So that'd be my one kind of little cautionary thing. If you're going to do it, pay attention to the financial implications. Social media, people are still searching for brands to work for within social media. So Instagram is still the big player, specifically for beauty industry pros. So I'm going to get into that a little bit here on what to do with this platform to be successful in recruiting. And then you just cannot undervalue the power of in-person relationships and word of mouth. And I'm going to get into those strategies as well. These are our top 3 platforms for where to find people that are a great fit for our industry and for your brand. And then we get into how. So here we go. How do we grow our pool of candidates? On Beyond the Technique podcast, I just released an episode today talking about recruiting red flags. These are things you want to make sure you're really paying attention to avoid the pain of bringing somebody on that is not a good fit and investing in them, especially financially, and just the energy that you put towards people if they're not the right fit. So check that out. And next week, I'll talk about green lights. What are the good things that you want to really pay attention to know, like, we got to move quick and get this candidate in our salon or our spot. So I bring it up like growing your pool of candidates because you never want to be in this desperate position where you really, really need to hire. So you're willing to just bring in this person, even though they're not an ideal fit, but you're like, I don't have a pool of candidates. So I'm going to just say yes to this person. Please, please write this down. You will either rise to your standards or you will fall to what you are willing to tolerate. And whatever you're willing to tolerate will become the new standard. And it's going to be a huge turnoff for your top performers. So I don't want you to get in that desperate position. So therefore, you need to grow your pool of candidates. And here are 4 ways that we've done this. Referral rewards, focusing on our digital presence and website, really optimizing our program with having assistants and apprenticeships and callbacks. You'll see what I mean. So referral rewards. We have referral rewards, most of us, I know not all, but when new guests refer a new guest to us, yes? So if you have a referral reward for your guests, why not have a referral reward for your team members? Here's what we do. If our team member refers somebody to us that we end up hiring, we give them a $100 bonus on their upcoming payroll. If after 1 year, their referral that we ended up hiring is still employed, and so are they get a $1,000 bonus. Because by that time, I can afford the upfront $1,000, but it also, you're not giving away $1,000 for the referral. You're giving $100 when we go and hire this person you referred, and you get $1,000 after they've been here for 1 year. This has been an extraordinary incentive, but it's only as good as how often you remind the team. Write this down. It takes the average adult 21 times to remember new information. Yep, it does. Have you ever heard something new and then you're like, this was amazing, I'm doing it, I'm all on board. And then your spouse says, I've talked to you about this multiple times and you never listen to me. When the student is ready, the teacher arrives. So bring it up often, make it just a part of the fabric of your communications that this is always in place, and you really trust and want their help in determining who is a good fit for your brand. Your digital presence. So think all things online. This is social media. Your SEO matters. If people are searching, hairstylist jobs near me, does your brand come up? So that's SEO, search engine optimization. That matters before your website matters, because they won't even get to your website if you don't have strong SEO. When it comes to social media, are you really posting about the life of your brand? What it's like to be within your brand? I think we're getting better at this. But to this day, we're still posting just tons of hair photos. And it's funny, and I see Christina Kirky on here, Pinup Hair Studio from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I follow her social media because she's brilliant at branding. And she had this cool campaign where it was like, you get Monopoly dollars every time you post something cool, like what's my favorite product at the salon. So my stylist started doing this Monopoly game, and every time they had to post something special that had nothing to do with posting a photo of their work. Well, in our DMs, we had a client say, I love this content. This is the content I've been waiting to see. So I promise you that posting about life in your brand, in your space, is also really what your target candidates want to see. How many times are you in an interview and they ask, well, what's it like to work here? They really want to visualize or have an idea of, if they work here, this is what it feels like. This is what it looks like. This is how I can see myself being a part of it. Your website specifically needs to funnel candidates. If you're not familiar with what a digital sales funnel is, reach out to me through Maya. Just go to joinmya.com. I mean, this is the ultimate sales funnel for growing your clientele. Well, now think of your website of creating a funnel where you have candidates coming to your site to apply, learn, join your team. So first off, you need to have a team page. The second most visited page on a salon website, spa website, is the page where you're featuring your artisans. If you are not doing that, it's a huge miss and opportunity. And bonus points if each one of them has their own bio page. The chubbier and more full your website can become, the stronger your SEO. So a landing page of your team, and then each team member has their own bio page. Okay, so that's a bonus piece of advice. And then a join our team page. A join our team page where you're always hiring every single type of position. Again, the more information that you can share on your team page, the better. So I don't just talk about, hey, here's what it's like to work here and here are our benefits, apply now. I say, here's what it's like to be a guest service team member. If you want to apply for guest services, click here. Here's what it's like to be a part of leadership. Here are the different roles in leadership. And then we spell those out and we say, if you want to be a part of leadership, apply here. Here's what it's like to be a part of being a hairstylist. By the way, are you new to the industry or do you have experience? And then I speak to both audiences. Your brand may be different, but our brand is totally open to hiring both new and seasoned stylists. So I want to speak to them in their own unique way. And then they have the opportunity to apply. Another bonus tip is when you think about who that right person is there a way to find out as much as possible about them in the application process? So we go through an application built into our website that really identifies our target market. What is their disc personality profile? This might be too far for you. We can chat and help you with this, but we want to know as much as we can about you before we even move forward with a phone conversation, if possible, and an in-person conversation. One of the unique things, though, that we built into our website that I would highly recommend is where somebody doesn't even have to apply yet. They just submit to shadow your salon. So there's a calendar built right into our website with the availability of my director of education. And they can pick a time that the candidate can choose a time that works for them. It's my availability of our director of education. And then we find out about them. Put your name, your email, what beauty school you went to. Do you have an Instagram hair page? What are you looking for in your dream salon? We just get, less than 10 lines of information, but then they're booked to come into shadow. And when they come into shadow, it really gives them an opportunity to feel out our environment, our team, get an idea of the kind of clientele that we serve and the overall vibe. But it also gives our team an idea of who they are. And is this a great culture fit? Because whenever we're growing our best team, we're thinking about their character and if they're a culture fit. We have had the most success listing a position for salon assistant. And we say very clearly, you have to have a license in the industry or about to obtain them, meaning they are about to start beauty school or within beauty school already. I'll tell you that is probably our number one most clicked on positions when we place that on Indeed. And then if your state allows an apprenticeship program, this is also an opportunity for you to grow somebody from the ground up who doesn't want to take the beauty school route, or you don't want them to because let's get them in your salon right away. So I'll just share, we have an apprentice right now who started with us just it's going to be 1 year in February. So about a year ago, she is already on the floor providing advanced colors, partial colors, all over colors, barbering haircuts, curly specialized haircuts, and straight haircuts. There are areas for growth. And she has her own menu. And there are times that we put people on the floor, and we do, by the way, get our assistants and apprentices on the floor within 3 months with their own special menu. And this may look so simple. Hey, we're going to get you on the floor just providing treatments. They feel empowered. And here's a little kind of pro tip. We bumped their hourly by $2 for days that they're behind the chair. So it adds a little more admin tasks or time, I should say, to making sure. And we use QuickBooks for everything, and how they clock in is even through QuickBooks. So we know they select, I'm clocking in to be behind the chair right now as an apprentice and assistant. My other stylists are commission. So these are for specifically new to the industry professionals. They will clock in hourly because they've not moved up to commission yet. And then they select, am I clocking in for a class, a meeting? Am I clocking in to be behind the chair, or am I clocking in to assist? And depending on what they select, it will then translate to their hourly. So I give them a little bump and when they are behind the chair, because then what are they going to want to do more of? They're going to want to be behind the chair more. So that helps ignite their passion and their motivation for doing more that is required for them to be able to provide more on their menu. For salon assistants, what does this look like? What does this mean, Katie? This is literally your onboarding protege level 1 expectations, where they are assisting various stylists at a higher levels. So I'll just say this, one of our brand values is mentoring. And we say, regardless of what level you are, everybody's a mentor somehow. We have somebody new on the floor who just naturally gets makeup. They could be giving tips to other people about makeup who are much higher level, but they're like, wow, you know things. I'm going to listen to you. That's mentoring. So that's a top value for us. So when we, in 2023, had all these new hires coming in, we're like, where are we going to put them? We got to make a way. We got to make a way. So we started having our assistants work with levels 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like, it was like the most empowering decision we made in 2023, because our level 2s, they took a whole different level of ownership. The way they communicated changed. It was a game changer. All their performance skyrocketed. Retail sales for 2023 for us was up 32%. So cool. And I would highly recommend this. Callbacks. Have you had people apply and you had them shadow, you went through all the things, and then you were like, oh, they're just so timid. Like, I can't see this. Like, so nice. What a nice person. But one of our strategies is looking back at past applicants who may not be the right fit today. Have you ever had that gut feeling like this person needs like a year somewhere else first, and then I think they might be ready for us? So one of our today, she is now a location educator and trainer, was one of those candidates at one time. She had come into shadow. She was so soft-spoken, shy, and timid that we were like, it's a no. But we stayed in touch with her. We followed her on Instagram. She was one of those stylists, as I mentioned at the beginning, who fresh out of beauty school went into a rental model, open floor concept salon where she rented a chair, and it was not successful for her. And she realized there's no way I'm going to grow and get the kind of education I need, and I'm not making money. So it was great that we stayed in touch, and we called her about a year later and said, hey, we're growing our team. I just want to hear kind of where you're at, or if you had any interest at all in connecting with us again. Well, she had interest. And now she is a lead stylist, location educator, and trainer, and probably one of the most talkative, opinionated, like positive, amazing, invested people on our team. So keep a really good record and organize your candidates. We use a platform called Asana, Asana. And this is a project management tool. Our software company uses this, and it might be kind of high level, but I said, no way. Our professionals are smart enough to use a platform like this. And we created a board, kind of picture a whiteboard where you draw columns and you can erase and put people in different columns. Like this candidate applied, they shadowed, they came in for a phone interview, or we had a phone interview, they came in for an in-person interview, and you kind of move them through your interviewing process. We do that same thing digitally through Asana. I love it. I do tours of it and trainings and education, but there are other platforms. Might use Slack. I don't really see a great best practice for tracking your hiring flow. But my point is, if you have a database or a place where you're following along with all of your recruiting, you can always go back to that. And not just for stylists. This could be a source for finding guest services as well. Who's applied before that you liked, but you just like somebody else better? Well, now that somebody better is moving, or who knows what happened, and now you are looking again, go back to that place and see if you have great candidates there. So the rules of recruiting, number one, you need to move quick. You need to fire quick. And you need to rally your team. So let's dive into that. Move quick. When you have somebody apply, let's say you post something on social, or you have somebody apply through Indeed, the day they apply is the day that you need to respond. Now, everybody needs work-life balance. So the agreement that we have with our brand is I expect my district manager, you saw that position, to respond. And we kind of have this script, this template, and how we respond to somebody in Indeed if they apply. The day they apply is the day that we look at that applicant. However, to give her work-life balance, I agreed to do the weekends. As an owner, and how many roles do I play? How many businesses do I own? It's still fun. It's not work to me. And I like to come in and help, because there is no true day off in the life of a founder. Unless if you have a day off, put it in the chat. I get a day off, but I just don't know. I don't really have days where I'm not somehow, some way looking at business. Even if I'm at a spa for the day, I'm like sneaking in to just make sure I stay. That could be my own problem though. But if it's the weekend, I'm the one that steps up and steps in to make sure that we move quick on great people. Connect today, tomorrow, or this week. Like, we cannot wait. Take time to really get to know them. This is like the biggest mistake and one of my pet peeves. When I entrust my leaders to do the interviewing, which 80% of the time they do without me, because it requires an in-person commitment, and I don't want them to wait for my availability. I want them to move quick and get that candidate in our space as quickly as possible. And if that's going to happen, it can't be based on when I can be there. And then 20% of the time when they say, here's what ended up happening, I'll be like, I could come. Great. But when you're in your face-to-face interview, or even over the phone, This is the moment that you need to take your time. I mean, a phone interview should be 30 minutes. An in-person interview should be an hour to 90 minutes. I've had team members do an interview and 20 minutes later, I'm hearing feedback about how it went. And I'm sitting here like, there is zero chance you actually got to know them in 20 minutes. If you're getting yourself stuck in this pattern of just looking at your interview questions on your sheet, asking the questions and they answer and you write it down and say, cool, okay, yeah, not enough. If you don't take the time now to really get to know them, here's what's going to happen. You either get emotionally fired up about somebody and then they come in and you're like, who I thought they were in the interview is not who they are actually being in person. Like there's misalignment. Okay, and whose fault is that? Them? No, it's on us. We need to ask better questions. And the number one question, I want you to write this down. This is the phrase you need to ask over and over again during your interview. Tell me more about that. So a question could be, tell me about your hobbies. Are there any fun things you do outside of work? Oh, yeah, I love hiking and traveling. Oh, cool. Tell me more about that. Well, every single month I book a trip and you're like, whoa, I don't know if we could allow you to book a trip every single month. Is that going to be okay with, it's like, you, I'm not saying it will lead that direction, but I'm saying asking the phrase, tell me more about that is one of the most strategic things you can do because you really want to get to know somebody. It's like being on a first date. Am I willing after today to take you to meet my parents? Have I gotten to know you that well or have I not? So take your time. And then hire A players. Can I just say that one of our issues, and this could be ego, I don't know where this comes from, but we sometimes think that we're magically somehow going to be the person who can reach this candidate, their heart and their mind. I'm going to be the one to reach. I see potential. Most likely not, because your past predicts your future. If we lower our standards to hire a C and D player, we're going to have more pain in the long run. Hire A players. What does that mean? I'll tell you what an A player is. An A player loves outcomes. They want to know their results. I think about one of my stylists, a level 2 stylist who in 2023 earned just over $70,000. And that girl will check her retail every week. She'll go up to our leadership at guest service and say, can you pull me a report of my sales analysis? And she wants to know every week. She sets a goal. In December, she alone sold over $2,000 in retail. She's an A player. She loves outcomes. They have a high internal need to succeed. They love accountability. They have the technical chops. They know what they're doing. And I'm not talking for this specific A player bullet point about hairstylists who are new to the industry, who may not, of course, have the technical chops yet. But if you're hiring a leadership position, they better have the technical chops. And they may not know how to use, let's say, Asana, like I brought up, but they are clearly able to adapt to technology applications. And you see that based on their work history. And then A players love coaching. They always want to get better. They have a growth mindset. They don't think they've arrived. They never will. That's an A player. So really getting to know them. This is the hiring process. I kind of spoke about this, but let's just review. If they have applied through a platform like Indeed, we have a message prompt that goes out to them. And it says something along the lines of, hey, Michelle, we're so excited to set up a phone interview with you. Before we do that, would you mind answering a couple of questions for us? Number one, why are you seeking a career change? And number two, what do you think differentiates our brand from other brands similar to us in our area? Now, you may think that what I'm looking for is what their answers are. And I'm looking for how quick they respond, and when they respond, can they craft a proper sentence? If they say I, is it uppercase or lower? Like, these are little things depending on the position. But especially if they're in guest services, they have to be able to accurately text clients back, email clients back. I mean, again, we have high expectations. So these are things I'm looking for. So I'm looking that they do respond. And what does the response look like? Then I do look at what do they actually say. That will tell you a lot right there. If that goes well, you move on to the phone interview. If that goes well, you move on to an in-person interview. And if they didn't start off with a shadow, I add a shadow visit to it. And here's what I say. Hey, we're going to sit down and just get to know you a bit. And then after that, I want to give you the opportunity to shadow our team. I already know I'm going to pair them with my location educator trainer or my director of education. So I kind of set it up. And if they're off that day, I find a lead stylist, master stylist who I know is going to be willing to engage and give me feedback. There really is nobody on my team, unless they're new to the industry, that I wouldn't pair a shadow with, because they all represent our culture. They know how to answer questions. They're all highly, highly competent people. So I want that shadow experience to happen, whether it's before an in-person interview or piggybacked with it, because we got to feel out what are they like when the leaders aren't watching? What do they ask? What do they say when they don't feel the pressure of being in an interview itself? If it's necessary, follow up with another interview. I don't do this often, but there are times when a couple of our leaders are just on the fence. They really want me to come in and kind of have discernment about a candidate, and then I will do that. And sometimes I do that as a phone interview. That paid off once. They were really fired up about a candidate, but they were like, there's just a couple things I don't know. Well, when I got in a phone interview, those couple things turned into a big thing where this person wanted to not be a part of a commission structure. Would I be willing to pay them hourly and start them $4 more than we normally do for hourly? And could they just do this schedule and work part-time at literally another industry competitor, even though it was on the other side of town? And like, none of this was discovered during that in-person interview. Thankfully, we had an opportunity to make that discovery before we hired this person on. And then references. And I'll tell you a little trick. Part of my phone interview is asking, hey, based on your resume, it looks like your previous employer was such and such business. Who was your main supervisor or manager at that business? And they tell me, and I write down, oh, how do you spell that? Brandon. Okay. Connor. Great. And then what's the best phone number for Brandon? Or what's the best email for Brandon? And then they give it to you. Awesome. When I connect with Brandon, how do you feel like he would rate your performance during your time with them on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being phenomenal? So the references I'm referring to are the ones that I discover during the interview process, not the references they possibly provide, who are, of course, all going to give you, shining bonus stars, 5 stars reviews. So that's just a little fun pro tip. And it makes your life a lot easier because then you have the information right away. And you'd be surprised how many people are actually willing to share feedback. And if I reach out to somebody, I say, hey, Brandon, on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being phenomenal, how would you rate this previous employee based on basic things that no one person should feel concerned about answering? So just another pro tip with that. Fire quick. It used to be slow to hire, quick to fire. When somebody has great character and culture, but they aren't fulfilling the job role, I've not positioned them properly. You either have the right people in the wrong position or the wrong people in the right position. If they are the wrong people in the right position, they've got to go. But if they're the right people in the wrong position, you do have an opportunity to potentially move them into a different role. We did this at our software company. Team member had great technical chops, but not the right technical chops that we needed for the specific role they were hired. But, we saw potential in other areas. We repositioned them. They are thriving now, and it's going great because they were the right person, just in the wrong position. But in your gut, if you've hired somebody that is not in alignment with your brand, your values, your standards, your expectations. So number one, believe them. People are going to show you right off the bat. If you give them the opportunity to, they're going to show you who they really are. You need to believe them. You need to know your non-negotiables. What are the hills you're dying on? And save yourself and your team the prolonged pain. I think, for me, I think like financially too, gosh, we invested how much, because they're not just getting paid hourly when they're here assisting. We're paying for their training, their education, all sorts of investments go into every new hire. And you really want to make sure if somebody is not the right character and culture fit, that we don't spend 6 to 12 months trying to give them chance after chance to change. People do change, but it has to be a massive shift in their heart and mind. And none of us, I don't care who you are in this room, have the power, the divine power to make that happen for an individual. And then rally your team, include them in the process, ask for their feedback and trust them. You've heard about me, just sharing my love for my team. I'm just so in awe. Like, we are Be Inspired Salon, and I am truly inspired by them. I do want them to be a part of every single piece of this puzzle. And you really want to trust the feedback. It was painful for me when I felt like I had a great rapport with a team member, and I had a couple team members share their concerns, red flags after this person had started. And as much as I had a heart for this person, I needed to listen to them. I knew if I didn't, that I would actually lose trust from my A players, my team members who have earned the right to be heard. And so I did listen to them, and I just want to encourage you, like, you can't break that trust for your team members. There's so much, but here's my last quote. Successful people do consistently what other people do occasionally. Recruiting isn't a once in a while behavior. This needs to just be ingrained as part of your business practices. And you will be successful if you put these pieces in place consistently. There's so much that we couldn't even dive into today. You probably have tons of questions. I want to get to them. Before we do that, I do have an ebook for free for everybody. If you go and grab this QR code and download this book that I wrote, this is going to dive even deeper into those hiring processes and practices. I even share the interview questions for you. That is all in this ebook. You can have instant access today. Okay, this is our time for you. We have 10 minutes left to share. What questions do we have from our group today?
Yes, like I said, guys, please type those questions in the chat. We do have a few that are already in here, so let's get to those first. This one kind of talks about team culture, and it's more prominent in the Midwest and the East Coast, but in LA, it's all suite culture. It seems like the team salon model is disappearing. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Do I have thoughts on the suite model?
And the
Oh,
team?
the team model disappearing and the suite model?
Yes.
The suite models that will not have tremendous churn are the ones that are going to put culture and standards in place. And I'm already seeing a shift in the marketing of industry influencers who have suites. I'm seeing a shift in the way they're marketing and communicating what it's like to be a suite renter or a chair renter within their space, where they are really focusing on standards and culture. They may be even crafting their rental agreements based on living up to those standards and expectations. So there, if you are not creating an emphasis on culture, it doesn't matter what business model you have, it's not going to be a long-term sustainable business. That's my opinion.
Yep. Love it. Great. Okay, so here is another one, and it's asking if you have a limit to the number of apprentices per trainer.
So we don't pair them just with a trainer indefinitely. They may come in, our assistant, and be with Sasha today. Tomorrow they might be with Olivia. The next day they might be with Nikki. The next day they might be with Samantha. They typically work a 4-day work week. So, and you know what? Everybody loves the variety. Everybody's going to learn the best from everybody's ideas and make it their own. And then it doesn't limit what we're capable of doing. So hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So Samantha on any given day wouldn't have 6 trainees or 6 apprentices. It would kind of, be shared amongst the team, right?
So Samantha might have an assistant with her today, but that assistant might be with Nikki tomorrow, and a different assistant might be with Samantha the next day.
Right.
So we still pair them up. Are there times where we've had 2 assistants for one person? Yes, but that one person, their schedule has to be like really like boom, boom, but like every 30 minutes we're starting a project or, a service. That's going to depend on your business model as well. Are you allowing double bookings or do you not? When I say allow, everybody put in the chat, how many of you have noticed an increase in client cancellations and no-shows? I'm hearing this a lot across the board.
So are we.
So if that's an issue, we want to double book. I mean, we never stopped double booking. We were never that brand to do that. But I told my stylists, especially your stylists who are doing 3.5 or 4-hour advanced color projects. And that's not even counting transformation services that could be 6 to 8-hour projects. So if they have a 3 to 4-hour project and that person cancels, even if it's 24 hours in advance, that could be a hardship on your commission stylist. If they're not commissioned, it's also a hardship for your hourly compensation program, right? So we want to have double booking to prevent, and by the way, they're all cool with it because we have plenty of assistants to help. Whenever there's a bind, I mean, teamwork is one of our other top values, and everybody rallies, everybody helps everybody out. It's awesome. So again, this speaks to culture and values and how you run the business. But double booking is like, yes, we want that because if something happens with this 3-hour appointment, I want there to be an overlap where I'm not missing out on that whole 3 hours of my day.
Yeah. Okay, here's the next question we've got here. Do you have a probation period? And what does that look like to ensure that that person is long-term?
No, we don't. I mean, I don't want to lead with like, you're on probation the day you start. Because I feel like that feels a little stressful. I mean, you could also put a thumbs up. Maybe we shouldn't put a thumbs up because it isn't like a positive, but if you have people on your team that have expressed anxiety, right? Just saying you're on a probationary period is going to kind of prompt some anxious feelings probably. So we don't lead with that, but behind the scenes, are we always kind of following up, evaluating? Yes. There are certain things we're looking for by such and such time frames after somebody has started, and we're really staying on top of that. And really our top deadline is, are they capable of being behind the chair with a limited service menu 3 months after they've started? And that's our big KPI that we keep an eye on, and everything else naturally gets communicated leading up to that.
Love it. All right, here we have another one. How can we have open conversations with newer stylists on how these TikTok famous stylists who have been in the industry for a while are misleading them and placing fear on commission salons over their bad experience, creating a false narrative? So how do we have those open conversations?
I don't know the whole context of the situation you're referencing, but if you want to jot this down, the best questions to ask start with how or what. If I, like, let's say somebody's like, I feel like I should be making more money. And I had a stylist say this to me once, and I said, what kind of money do you want to make? They didn't even know. They just wanted more. Well, I can't help you get to your goal if I don't know what the goal is. So if I know how much you want to make, then we can back that into performance. I hope that's helpful, but I'll say, how do you want to get there? So if they say, great, then I'll say, cool. How do you think you would need to get there? Now they still have to take ownership. So therefore, I'm not scrambling to get defensive or explain how we're better or different. I'm putting them in a position to have to take ownership and be a problem solver for their own path. I think success leaves clues as well. So we talk about, I brought up a level 2 that made over 70,000 in 2023. We bring that kind of thing up without bringing up names and making people feel, and sometimes you want to. Somebody hit the 6-figure mark. We celebrate that. I just noticed one of our salon members was celebrating this and putting it on social. And, success is possible here. Here's our path to getting you there. And we're going to celebrate the success of our team. And when they see that, that's your own internal influence. Who are your top influencers within your own brand? Don't let them question you, throw you for a loop. You don't have to have the answers. You need to help them come up with the right answers for themselves.
Yeah. This next question is on compensation for your learning leaders. What does that look like?
So for education and trainers, that is an hourly wage. So when they're on the floor, they're earning commission. When they are doing education or training, they are earning hourly. Again, remember how I talked about QuickBooks and how we track what people's entries are? So they don't clock in for when they're behind the chair if they're commissioned. But then they do need to go in and clock in specifically for training or a class that they're teaching. By the way, in Asana, we require a whole calendar of event. We do quarters. So I have all of January, February, and March education calendar spelled out, figured out. There is no impromptu education happening because that could burden your budget. So you clearly come to an agreement. Here's the plan for education. Here's who, what, when, where, how for our classes. And I have that budgeted for and planned for.
Great. Having that early helps. Yeah, absolutely. And then this last question, it looks like, is do you have compensation conversations about booth rent or suite business versus your salon payout and benefits in the beginning?
Probably not as well as I should. That's probably an area of growth for myself and my team. We give everybody who's interviewing and considering us a path to 6 figures. So we say, hey, here, you may earn 40 to, it's actually 38 to 45% commission. But here's how that's tied to what you actually put in your pocket because of all of the other benefits we provide. And I love that you're bringing this up because this was part of our end of the year conversation. I like your idea of putting this at the front end though, but our end of the year team meeting or conversation that we had, it was part of what we spoke about. My husband used to be a senior embedded electrical engineer, very fancy. making over six figures. When people work in a corporate setting, they're shown their total compensation. And that's not what they put in their pocket. That their total compensation includes their health insurance, it includes their dental insurance, it includes their paid time off, it includes, so they see that it's not separated out like we do with like commission and all that. Now it's a salary position. So what we've done is we show, hey, on commission, here's the range for this level. And if you're getting all the benefits, and one of the benefits, of course, that everybody loves is paid time off, because whether or not you opt in for health insurance, everybody wants paid time off, in my opinion. And so when they see that when they look at their total compensation, it's really eye opening, and that's hard to compete with. I think the booth rental, it's a threat, but it's not a threat. I mean, we're going to see a boomerang effect. A lot of people are predicting that, where people are going to try to come back into commission salon settings. You got to be ready for that. And are you already marketing to them? Are you already saying, marketing is communication? Are you already communicating that if somebody is in a suite rental model that just really isn't the right fit for them, hey, we'd love to have a conversation with you, because here we are going to constantly provide you new clients, especially because we have Maya, and that's one of the things they typically can't do for themselves. An average stylist loses about 30% of their clientele every year to natural churn. So unless they're putting as much energy towards marketing as they are their work behind the chair, they are not going to keep up with that loss. So what we notice is they go from full-time renting and lessen it by one day, or lessen their hours, and eventually they're a couple days and they do this other thing now to make money. And it's a bummer. But again, if you lose somebody to a booth rental model, does your gut tell you, did you already kind of see a shift in their mindset where team was no longer top value for them? They had their own opinion. They wanted their own way. It's like we created a master designer level. So this is a level 5 at our salon to kind of say like, look, this is like, in this level, you can turn down clients. You don't have to work with membership clients anymore. You can change your pricing for yourself as often as you want. You can, we basically give them full autonomy. If they want to stay on benefits, legally, they have to do 30 hours in the state of Wisconsin to be full time. So I'm like, literally, this is all we could possibly ever give you before you'd be a 1099. Which we don't do because we want to really protect the culture and the model. So are there areas for you to add more autonomy? And what do they have to do to get there? And what do they have to do to stay there? So part of our level 5 is you have to submit for either NAHA, behind the chair, one shot. There's so many hair competitions out there that you have to kind of put your work out to somebody else to judge. So we're pretty flexible on what that looks like. But if you do that every single year, you stay here. And the reason we set that up is we also don't want high level stylists to become the outdated, do the same thing, never adapt and grow stylists either, because that influences the culture too. That is also a threat. You're not going to hire great people who want to be a part of this cool, awesome team if they're surrounded by people who have been in the industry. It doesn't mean, I've known women in the industry for 30 years who are freaking cool and doing awesome things. And I've known people in the industry 15 years that are like old and stagnant, and they would never show up to education unless they had to. They would never go out of their way for that. And you know what? It's reflected in their clientele. It's reflected in their books. They end up not being as busy as some of my younger ones. And guess what? Nobody looks up to them anymore. So actually, we had to part ways with that type of team member in 2023 who was just didn't want to stick with what we had going on and really have that passion. And we just knew like there are going to be times people outgrow us, and there are going to be times that we outgrow people. And you got to recognize that as well.
I absolutely love that you say, apply to a certain type of competition because that just stimulates their creative juices as well and allows them to not be stagnant. That's great. So I know we're over time. This one's going to be really quick. What point of sale system do you use in your salon? That's the last question.
Rama, I love you, but I cannot say because Maya, we play in the sandbox with all the point of sales. We love all of them. But if you put what your point of sale is in the chat, there might be other people that say same, me too, and you can all collaborate together. But I got to bow out of that question for the sake of my software company's relationship with all of the amazing point of sales in the industry.
Understandable. Okay, well, let's leave it with this then. Where can we contact you? How do we follow you? What do we do? I know we've got that free ebook right there, which is a great one. And I've pinned joinmaya.com up here. But let's end with how we can get in touch with you and where we can find you.
Yep. So Join Maya is going to be our Instagram platform. You can direct message us there. You can also email us at info@joinmaya.com. INFO at joinmaya.com.
Perfect. Okay, great. This was so amazing. Somebody else asked if this was recorded. Yes, it was recorded. So I know you guys are all taking so many notes. Don't worry, you'll get an email probably tomorrow with the link to rewatch this amazing content. Katie, thank you so much. Truly, I have so many notes that I was writing down, and I'm sure everybody else was. So thank you once again for this. And everybody, head on over to joinmaya.com for more info. Thanks,
Thank you,
Katie.
Emily. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you, PBA. I appreciate you so much.
All right, take care and stay warm. Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.